Power, my brother Baba. Thank you for coming through. I mean, you're the only brother that's out there in Syracuse that's keeping it alive. At first, there was a lot of hating going on, but now you have weeded out the haters. And all you got to do is keep doing this great and mighty work. You are one of the brothers that I could say that have met Khalid personally. You don't always go by who said and he said. You know exactly what he said because he have spoken with you. You met him personally. You know him. You see, you've been there. He came in the store when you was there in Washington. What was the name of that store? The House of Kemet. Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad used to always make trips to the House of Kemet in Washington, D.C. with our brother Rafu and our brother Tahuti. Oh yeah, that's another one. That's another real elder. My brother Rafu and Tahuti, man. I want to give a strong Black Power shout out to my brother Tahuti, who has been doing this for years. This brother been holding it down, speaking that truth to no matter what. You know what I'm saying? He been speaking the real deal. He know the history. Go and look up our brother Tahuti out there. So that's another real elder who I respect and who I love dearly. And my brother Rafu. I have done business with my brother Rafu. So I respect my brother Rafu as well. Peace and Black Power. So a shout out to my brother Rafu.
Right now the pressure is on. If I no money them I bring to we better them go on, Baba. Need the door, yes, we grease in palm. A couple meal before the break of dawn. Yeah, man, I say most definitely they represent for Baba. Every time fire. I say yo, Baba TV, keep it locked.
A group of scholars, including Dr. Wade Nobles and others out of the San Francisco and the Bay Area, did a recent study to show that black people are more spiritually inclined than white people. It shows that black people, I repeat, are more spiritually inclined than white people. This study gives us the key to the devious, concupiscent nature of white people. Their natural leaning against the divine and universal order. Whatever any book says, Old Testament, New Testament, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, Romans, Corinthians, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, no, I don't care what it is. If it's the Quran, if it's the Bible, Old or New Testament, as I said. Whatever the divine word says, you will find white people saying, oh, it's all right. Try it. You'll like it. They go against God's law and against God's word and against God's way. They're the only people that pollute the very air that even they have to breathe, pollute the very water that even they have to drink, which is condemning themselves to death, destroying the rainforest, tampering with the delicate balance in nature, destroying the ozone layer around the earth. And so now it's hot when it's supposed to be cold. It's cold when it's supposed to be hot. It's snowing when the sun is supposed to be shining. And the sun is shining when it's supposed to be snow. Everything all messed up now. The birds, the bees, the trees, the flowers, the ants, everything crying out for relief from the rule
Peace,
of
Hotel.
the white man.
Peace, Black Power, peace, love, health, happiness, and in every endeavor that you're pursuing out there to the viewing audience. We have another brother out here with the House of Consciousness family here on Baba Fire Every Time TV. Another brother out here who is studying and advancing himself, expanding his mind, so he, as a brother who is enlightened, can bring enlightenment and knowledge to those out there who are seeking knowledge, who already have knowledge, or wanting to network with other brothers with knowledge. This is a very intelligent brother right here, who I humbly respect, and I've heard his build and the way he conveys himself and his level of awareness in depth and in layers of information. And I want to say that it's an honor and a privilege to meet you. And I want you to talk about a little about what's going on in the world today, man. I believe that you're intellectually competent enough to give breakdowns to the people, to let them know what's going on, man. There's a lot going on. France, the homosexual agenda, the terrorist threat. Some people may propose that you know, a lot of these threats that people are trying to come to fight against America, because this is a place of freedom, and there are other people over there who just don't want to see us free. Even though us as black people, we have gripes with that whole concept, this is freedom, and there's other people that don't want to see our freedom. What is your perception of France? What's going on? The so-called new threats of terrorist attacks supposedly coming to Times Square. Do you believe that is a farce? Do you believe that there's some truth in there? How should our people evaluate these matters that are going on in the world today?
Peace, beloved. My name is Citi Hampton. I'm an artist and also an esoteric scholar. I teach a course of holistic psychology. You can find me via Facebook. I'm going to get to all the questions and everything. We're just formally introducing myself to the family, give homage to the platform of Baba TV and all those who are listening. And also homage to the universal mind, the archetypes that we understand to be gods and goddesses in our ignorance, as well as the ancestors, the Igun. So, my personal perspective and what I really focus on is I try not to pay too much attention to what Europeans do. I stay aware in regards to what's happening, in regards to the dynamics of what's taking place. The shit that takes place in France, what's going on with ISIS, everything like that. But what I understand is that what they're doing is they're utilizing all of these particular events as the events in terrorism in France and things of that nature as a way to be able to implement mind control, specifically mind control over the consciousness. And the more energy that you give your enemy, the less time, the less focus that you have on the process of effectively healing yourself from the psychosis that we have been experiencing for well over the course of the past 1,600 plus years, living in the hells of North America, living in the Western Hemisphere. You know what I mean? We're talking about slavery as a whole, the sub-Saharan slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade, Jim Crow. Then you're talking about the particular paradigm of the social, political, economic system as it is established, particularly at this point. The primary focus, before we even get into the idea of trying to interface with our enemy, we have to understand that our enemy externally is only a reflection of the problems and the intuitive damage that we had, and the intuitive damage of what is within us. You have to conquer your weaknesses before you destroy those who prey on it. You have to conquer the weaknesses that the Europeans have placed inside of the psychosis before you can actually start to effectively fight back this enemy externally. You know what I mean? And the way that they have this biggest, the way that they emphasize the biggest influence on us is through the premise of organized monotheistic religion, Christianity, Judaism, Islam. You know what I mean? We could talk about the premise of Judaism and Islam. We could talk about these monotheistic traditions that really come from the bastardization of the spiritual traditions of the primary cultures of the old world. And you have three primary cultures of the old world: the Nile Valley civilization. Then you have the pre-Harappan Mohenjo-daro culture, which creates the basis of the Indus Kush Valley. Then you have the Mesopotamian culture. Okay, so we could talk about the premise of these three old civilizations. When you're talking about these civilizations here, you're talking about the insurrection of the Ptolemaic dynasty that starts to establish himself anywhere between the 330s all the way up to all the way up to 30 BCE with the murder of Ptolemy the 14th by the Augustus Octavius. You know what I mean? Then you get the insurrection of the Roman Empire. From the Roman Empire, you get the Christian Byzantine Empire. Then you get the basis of the Arab conquest from the Mamelukes and the Caliphites within the 640s. And then you get the whitewashing of Africa, that creates the partition of Africa, where all of northern Africa is all Muslim and all of southern Africa is all Christian. You understand what I'm saying? As well as other parts in north and east Africa, where you get Judaic traditions. These particular traditions translate all the way here in the Americas. Okay, as they translate here in the Americas, they create the psychosis that embeds and imbibes inside of our subconscious psyche, as if we need something outside of ourselves to save us. The reason why you have the social political paradigm that is controlled by political officials who are in the pockets of the Vatican.
That's right.
You know what I mean? We could talking about the political officials. The political officials are in the hands of the corporate bankers. The corporate bankers answer to the Vatican. You have a white pope, a gray pope, and a black pope. The white pope answers to the gray pope. The gray pope answers to the black pope. We said the black pope talking about the cloak that they wear, which signifies the particular premise of power that they exemplify. All right. Now these people who head and run the world are really practicing ancient African and indigenous spirituality in their free time, and then giving you an external version of that, which becomes the basis of monotheistic religion. So what really needs to happen is we need to really start dealing with the psychology of African-based metaphysical psychology that in our ignorance we would call African spirituality. The word spirit comes from the Latin word spiritus, which means breath. That's all it means. So when you're breathing, you practice spirituality. You're really dealing with African-based metaphysical psychology here, in which we have to learn how to internalize the concept of God as a force that is within us that needs to be accessed. Because we're dealing with a hyperdimensional spiritual warfare that only materializes here in the physical plane under the premise of France, Ferguson, Times Square attacks, 9/11, everything that they're doing based off of spiritually based motives. And the more that we're looking for an entity to be subservient to, we're going to continue to keep being marginalized, compartmentalized, and pushed inside of this corner that puts them in a position to try to define us. You know what I mean? They're looking for new ways to define us. The thing about it is that we are the Africans in the Western Hemisphere, right? If we're Africans in the Western Hemisphere, the most interesting thing about us as Africans in the Western Hemisphere is the fact that we contain the DNA of the Africans, particularly from the continent and through amalgamation with the DNA of all of our children. Okay? So we have the DNA of these so-called Native Americans inside of us, the DNA of these Irishmen inside of us, the DNA of these Italians, these Europeans inside of us. So what we're dealing with is a process of alchemy, cosmological but spiritual alchemy that's preparing us to be able to get to a new stage in evolutionary consciousness. The Europeans don't want you to focus on the biggest shit that's taking place right now. The biggest thing that's taking place right now is that we're preparing for an event called the precession of the equinoxes. It occurs every 25,920 years. It's where the planet stops spinning. Okay? It stops spinning and spins in the opposite direction for 2 to 4 days. That's a big cosmic event that the Kemites talked about, and the Dogon talked about, and the Teotihuacan talked about, that the Mayan talked about. This is the shit that you need to be focusing on. Not France, not motherfucking all of that, none of that other shit. That shit is just a distraction. This is the shit that you need to be focusing on. Healing your mind, knowing yourself, healing yourself, healing transgenerational trauma. As you heal yourself, you heal the transgenerational trauma of the ancestors. You have your family in the astral realm who are looking to ascend. They're ready to get the fuck out the wheel. Because what we're doing is we're participating in the wheel, a cyclic wheel of life, death, and reincarnation here. Okay? That's what the ancestors were telling us when they were saying you got to break that generational curse. The curse of jail, the curse of death, the curse of drug addiction, right? But they're really talking about a concept that the ancient Kemites refer to as the Pasadum Hakundum, or the Shatat Net Chair, meaning the path of the sacred divinity. In Buddhism, it becomes Samsara. In Hinduism, it becomes Moksha, which means liberation. And that's what we're all doing this for, liberation, right? We're doing this for liberation. So we have to liberate our consciousness first. Free your mind. Free your mind. And you can't free your mind until you know yourself inside and out. Once you start knowing yourself inside and out, you start giving a less of a fuck of what this European's doing. Because he's trying to engage your attention. All he wants is your attention. He's willing to kill for it. He's willing to rape you. He's willing to rape your babies. He's willing to kidnap you. He's willing to create motherfucking fake ass Islamic caliphites with ancient Egyptian based names to get your attention. He's willing to put out Gods of Egypt movies with white Egyptian gods. All of this to get your attention. He wants your attention. Stop giving him your attention. And everything that you do, what you watch, what you listen to, what you eat, what you wear, what you give your money to. This is one of the most important things. Okay? The Harlem Black Wall Street holiday market, in which we support black businesses, boycotting European businesses. This shit needs to happen every day. Every day till the paradigm of European supremacy stops and dies. This needs to happen every day. Okay? And this is just one of the things that we need to do in regards to the reform. Heal yourself spiritually. Heal your mind. That creates the basis of an economic reform, a political, social, economic reform, a militarization reform, a reform in the arts and the sciences. I know you niggas is tired of hearing this whack-ass music on the radio. I know you tired of Young Thug and that shit. Well, heal your mind. Learn how to play your instrument. You understand what I'm saying? Learn the arts of poetry and make better music than that shit. You You understand what I'm saying? Get with your own people. Learn the dynamics of how to be able to put on an event, how to be able to talk to a general manager at different venues and stuff like that. Start performing, building a buzz. Put some money behind your mission. Put your people on. It's not that hard. But we can't do it unless we got this ego. And this and the way that the ego was established is based off of that psychosis that we have that's been established and imbibed inside of our subconscious psyche, based off of this influence of this devil, this influence of this European. That's really our child. We call him the devil because the word devil comes from the Latin word diabolos, which means slanderer and accuser. So he's a slanderer, he's an accuser, but he's really our fucking child. You know what I mean? Appreciate that, God. He's really our child. Okay? And he's out of control. So it starts with you. Stop giving him attention. Stop giving him attention. And that's the major thing that we're going to be doing, that we're going to be emphasizing from now until it's time to go home. What we're looking to do is we're looking to jump from this third dimensional confines of this existence to the fifth dimensional confines of multi-dimensional awareness. The ancient Kemites, they define the existing realms, right? You have the Samatawi, which means the union between both lands, or Ta Netchir, which means God's land. The Ta is the physical realm. The Pet is the heavenly realm, right? The Duat is the netherworld, which leads up to the Nebuchadnezzar. When you get to the Nebuchadnezzar, you're getting into the realm of transistence that's going to create the basis for you to interface with what the ancient Kemites refer to as Patemta, which means the all. All right? So what we're doing is we're jumping from different dimensional levels of existences here. So all this shit in regards to food, clothing, shelter, money, all of this other shit, we're just looking to get that shit to sustain us in the process of us ascending. That's what it is. We're looking to get that shit to sustain us in the process of ascending. Now, by no means am I telling you to not go get your money. If you can get your money legally, and if you can get your money specifically empowering your people, by all means do that shit. But the whole paradigm is shifting, and it's not going to look the same. It's not going to look the same. We're talking about the Mayan calendar. You're talking about the precession of the equinoxes. You're talking about a certain event that occurs in which they chronicle the last precession of the equinoxes. And the Mayans are the children of the Teotihuacan. The Teotihuacan are ultimately the descendants of the Olmecs. The Olmecs, the ones that come from Mali. So when you're talking about Mali or West Africa, you're talking about the Dogon. The Dogon come from the Amazi. The Amazi, which is a tribal hunters that lived in early dynastic Egypt, or right before early dynastic Egypt, around 3400 BCE. The early dynastic period begins in 3100 BCE, between 3100 BCE to 2890 BCE. Okay, so when you're looking at all of those different things, what we're talking about here is we're talking about stuff that we have been predicting. We have been predicting for all over the course of the past 5,000 years, because Kemet wrote everything in stone to market the fall. We're talking about Egyptian history, pre-dynastic history that goes back anywhere between 36,000 to 51,000 years ago. So we're talking about our family in the dynastic period where they're writing all of the stuff down with the unification of Narma, right? In 3100 BCE. Then you have Ho-Aha, who was the second in the Sut in the first dynasty. Then it goes down all the way until you get to the final all the way leading up to the third dynasty that begins the basis of the Old Kingdom. So we can deal with the Old Kingdom. Then you're dealing with Sanaketi. Then you're dealing with Zauza. These are the Old Kingdom, which is the pyramid builders. So you get all the pyramids in that era, right? And the pyramids chronicle stars. The stars, they represent stars. This is why you see the correspondences between ancient Kemetic culture and Dogon culture, right? And then you talk about the basis of ancient Kemetic culture and Dogon culture really being the father of ancient Hebraic culture, which is the reason why the sign of the Star of David really has two pyramids. You see that star, that's a pyramid on top and it's a pyramid on bottom. What they're really chronicling is the basis of your higher self and your lower self, right? Which is the science of Set and Heru. Of Set and Heru, which is the reason why when you look at the upper crown, you're talking about the upper crowns of Kemet. The upper crown of Kemet is referred to as the upper crown of Kemet is referred to as the head jet. It's the white crown. Then you have the Deshret, which is the red crown. All right, so we can talk about the upper crown, the lower crown, right? You're talking about Heru, and you're talking about Set. that same dynamic, which becomes the basis of the messianic story of Jesus and Satan, who were the same entity. These are the same entities that we're talking about here. You are the God and the devil. You are the God that you are searching for and the devil that you're running from. You're both of them. And until you take a full responsibility of what needs to happen within yourself, spiritually and psychologically, there's not going to be any progress politically. There's not going to be any progress socially. There's not going to be any progress economically. There's not going to be any progress in a forum of militarization. So with that being said, just to kind of put that on the end point, my name is Citi Hampton. You can contact me on Facebook. Also check out my website, citihampton.weebly.com, citihampton.weebly, spelled weebly.com. I teach a workshop called the I Am Buddha Workshop. If you contact me on Facebook, facebook.com/Citi Hampton, CITI Hampton, hit me up, or you can hit me up directly via my Gmail, IamBuddhaWorkshop@gmail.com. IRONBUDDHA workshop@gmail.com. So you can contact me, and homage to Baba TV for the marvelous platform of all of the family that's been paying attention, and stay in touch with me. I'm out here. I love you, and I give homage to the ancestors and the universal mind for you to be able to listen. I appreciate you once again.